In the first part here, in this section right here, I'm just pointing out that I found documentation here that shows what the roller-to-roller dimension is for a series of the DBGFC pumps. So the DBGFC 629, that's a pump that has larger OD pistons, those little pistons in there. So that's obviously going to be for a bigger engine, and it says that was used on the Oliver 880. So the DBG 627-2BH and -3BH both say that they're for the Oliver 770, and they have a dimension given of 1.975, so that's 5 thousandths less than the dimension that I had been given by the supplier. So that kind of makes me think that, yeah, that, you know, at this point I'm starting to figure out that the 1.980 is probably the correct OD for my pump, which is a DBGFC 627-1ED. So at first I contemplate using the 1.975 dimension that I found here for the 770 tractor pump, but then I realized since it's only 5 thousandths less, I might as well just stick with the 1.980 that I got from the distributor and figure out what I'm doing wrong as far as trying to set this thing. Now at this point, I actually use the dial caliper, and then I suddenly, you know, the light bulb goes on, and I figure out, well, wait a minute, that's only 5 thousandths of an inch smaller. The 975 is only 5 thousandths of an inch smaller than the 980. So I might as well, you know, figure out what I'm doing wrong here. So then I grab the cam ring and install the cam ring temporarily just to get an idea of how far off I am. And I quickly realized that, yeah, those rollers are going to need to come out quite a bit more in order to even contact any parts of the cam ring. So that's when I start to realize that I've just not adjusting that leaf spring correctly. Now at this point I realize that I probably just don't have the leaf spring tight enough, and I decide to tighten it some and see what happens. And I'm talking about that I think that as I tighten it, it's going to spread that spring apart and allow those rollers to come out further. So then I take the screwdriver and I push the rollers out a little bit, and I double check to make sure that they can no longer come out all the way, that the leaf spring is actually doing a job of keeping them captive, or keeping the shoe captive. And here I decide to take a measurement and see how close I am. So first I try and take a measurement, but then I realize what I'll do is I'll just set the dial calipers to the 1.980 setting and see how wide that is compared to where the rollers are right now. And I discover that they need to come out quite a bit more. And at this point I decide that what I should try and do is find something that I can put in the gap behind the shoe to help keep the rollers pushed out to their maximum limit, so I can try and get a better measurement. So my first attempt, I try and use these small precision screwdriver blades because they have a nice wedge shape to them. But what I quickly realize is that they're just too top heavy with the handles, and they just kind of want to keep falling out. And then I talk about how this is normally supposed to be done, is that there's a special fixture that you mount in a vise, and then you slide the rotor, you take the rotor out of the head, you slide it into this fixture, the fixture's got a port on it that you actually hook up your compressed air to. And what happens is you charge it with compressed air, and the air pressure will actually push those little pistons out on the backs of the shoes and keep those shoes out to their maximum limit so that you can make that adjustment. I think I did actually find that jig for sale somewhere, but it was pretty expensive. It was a few $100, and so I'm certainly not going to invest that because I'm not in the business of repairing pumps. So since those larger screwdrivers were giving me fits, I decided to grab my jeweler's screwdrivers because the jeweler's screwdriver blades also have a little wedge action to them, but they're smaller, and I figured that might be a little more stable. So I take my measurement with the calipers and I get 1.932. Now at this point, what I didn't realize was I just took that measurement down about halfway on the roller. But because I'm wedging near the top, I really need to take the measurement at the very top. So then I tighten the screw in a little further and decide to take another measurement. Then I realized that my little screwdrivers are going to keep falling out on me and driving me crazy. And I basically say that I think I've got the right idea, I just need to find a better way to keep the shoes wedged out so that I can get my measurement.